I'm Jim McGregor here from TIRIAS Research. I'm here with Durga Malladi, and we're talking about AI. Now, Durga is the Senior Vice President and General Manager of Technology Planning and the Edge Solutions at Qualcomm, although he's also what I like to call the AI geek because he looks at AI personally, professionally, you name it. We've done a lot of things together over the past couple of years and looked at AI a lot, especially last year. So this is kind of an update here. So first off, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
But everything's changed from when we were, doing this last year. Now we have a mixture of experts. We have RAG, retrieval augmented generation. We have multimodality. We have all these things. So what are the greatest advancements in your mind in terms of AI over the past year?
I think a couple of things come to mind. The first one, I think, is a general belief. Like 1 year back, running generative AI on device was still seen as a novelty, as something that, let's see how that actually pans out. I don't know exactly what's capable in a device that, why can't you simply run it on the cloud and what else do you get out of it? 1 year from last year, as of today, we have commercial devices that you and I can go into a store and buy, whether it's handsets or AI PCs, with generative AI applications running directly on device. And these are pretty large models, by the way. These are not, anywhere from 7 to 10 billion parameter models that run on smartphones, up to 13 billion parameters on PCs. It's a pretty remarkable use cases.
Yeah.
I'll touch upon like a couple of them. In a smartphone, for instance, one of the smartphones that was launched, there's this feature called Live Translate. Two people communicating with each other in two different languages wouldn't be possible unless you run models directly on device. This is not something that's possible on the cloud. It can only be possible when you run this on device. The other part is a growing realization that AI can transform the way one interacts with the device. The UI can change quite a bit. So you have the rise of these AI assistants, voice assistants, in which you simply communicate with voice and get things done. We showed an example at Snapdragon Summit in both in a smartphone form factor and in a laptop, where you could make an airline reservation by simply talking to your device. You didn't have to worry about things like I don't have to pick up the device, open an app, or do everything, but it was just happening all the time. That was pretty incredible. And as of today, you and I can go to a store and buy an AI PC. And that's what actually we are truly excited about. This is the second wave of the device launches, but the AI PC now comes in with even greater expectations. There's a heavy emphasis on the rebirth of a PC, the way that we interact with these PCs, productivity tools and consumer tools running in parallel with a lot of our partners. And that's the thing that there's a lot more to talk about when it comes to AI PCs.
Well, and we should note, since today is June 18th, the AI PCs are available today.
That's correct.
Featuring the Snapdragon X Elite and X Plus processors. Right. So this is a really big day for Qualcomm.
It's a remarkable day, just in terms of the number of months that we took to actually reach to this point in time, the stability and the maturity of the solution itself. So looking forward to the feedback coming from consumers in this space.
Well, I have to ask you, because that live translation, that originally, a one key feature, that's a key feature on the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, I believe.
Yes.
That features the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3.
That's correct.
And you've taken a lot of that learning into the Snapdragon X Elite series.
That's
so,
correct.
Qualcomm's also focused on automotive, Qualcomm's focused on IoT, Qualcomm's focused on robotics. So are we going to have some of those learnings from these platforms continue throughout these platforms for all these other solutions?
Absolutely. The one word answer is yes. We've always maintained the fact that we have one technology roadmap that scales up and down in a very nice way. We've designed our entire technology and IP in such a way that on one extreme we can scale up, and what started off in handsets scales up towards compute, towards automotive, and all the segments that actually need a much higher performance computing than where we are. And on the other hand, we can also scale down into industrial and eventually into consumer IoT sections, where that's a place where we actually have a limited amount of AI processing. And as we go up, there's a tremendous amount of AI processing that runs on device. So that's actually one of the nice things that we have done inside Qualcomm, just in terms of the ability to scale. But for us, computing is a combination of three different processor lines that we have. We're kind of unique in the industry to be able to actually do it in that way. On one hand, we have our custom CPU solutions, the one that we just recently came out with our Snapdragon X Elite, industry leading in terms of the benchmarks, both in terms of performance per watt, like for the same performance, we're significantly better in power consumption, and for the same power consumption, significantly better in performance, single and multi-threaded, against all the competitors that are out there. It is the best performing processor out there. Similarly, our NPU, which is custom designed for AI workloads, is best in industry when it comes to both raw TOPS, just the processing power, and the power efficient way of running these workloads. Because a lot of the time in these devices, we are beginning to see that, especially in PCs, the workloads are not just on demand AI. It's not like you ask a question and you get an answer, but it's something that's constantly running in the background. That's pervasive AI. When you think of pervasive AI, you have to really track power consumption. So we've kind of paid some special attention to it. And we also have a GPU, which is best in class when it comes to what it is capable of performing. And it's another processor which has a day job, but opportunistically we leverage using that for AI processing. So we have a combination of three processors, and I think that sets us in a nice position to scale up and down across all of these product lines.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because I kind of feel around AI PC, the message has gotten lost around that focus on the NPU. The fact that, Qualcomm's always highlighted that whole NPU engine solution, having all those solutions together. So, once again, AI is changing. Every 6 months, it looks like the AI landscape looks completely differently. Any predictions, any excitement about what's coming? Because, it's funny because we talk about, how we're going to be scaling these models down, but at the same time, we're using more models simultaneously to do the same thing, to get better accuracy, to create things that are more personalized or more customized towards specific applications or usage models. So, I mean, what do you think is coming, and what excites you about it?
I think there's three different trend lines over here, and we are really making sure that we drive both ourselves in terms of our capabilities and what comes up in our IP planning, because there is really three different trend lines in AI as of today. First, you begin to see that, go back in time and you say, well, GPT-3 was 175 billion parameters, and you'll be like, wow, I need to beat that performance. We're just talking of 10 billion parameters on device. Is it the same? The truth is, it's better than that, because the smaller models are increasingly getting more and more sophisticated. Just pay attention to the trend lines of, as an example, Llama 3, 8 billion parameters this year beats a significantly larger number of parameters Llama 2 from last year, which in turn beat Llama 1 by a significant margin. Which is good.
And some of those initial ones weren't that good.
That's right. So the smaller models are getting significantly superior, which means, and we can run these smaller models on devices. When I say small, 10 plus billion parameters, that means the capabilities on these devices are going to increase tremendously. So that's one thing. That's a big one. The second one is increasing use of multiple modalities. It's not like we treat language separately and voice separately and images separately, but it's actually all of the above. Taking all the modalities together is one single multimodal network, and that's a trend line. That's inevitable. In fact, earlier this year at MWC in Barcelona in February, Mobile World Congress, we showed a demo in which it was a really nice demo, actually, I thought, where you take a look at a picture. Actually, you're just pointing a camera at something and you say, can you tell me a recipe from what you see in front of you? It's like a bunch of vegetables. But if you kind of think about it, you're asking a question, that's voice, you're getting the other modality, which is the image, and then you have to understand the question and then figure out what recipe to create, and out pops a recipe over there. Pretty remarkable, actually, if you think about it. But that was the world's first multimodal network running on a smartphone. That's just the beginning of it. So multimodality is here to stay for sure. That's the second theme. The third theme is, I think, as users get more and more used to generative AI on devices, they expect a much more personalized experience. What I want from my device is probably different from what you want from your device. But how do you get this personalized experience? Well, there's a lot of contextualization, which means use all the sensory information around you to figure out where you are, what is it that you need, and so on. That's personal information. It's very private. It should be on device, actually.
Yep.
Secondly, in addition to that contextualization, there's additional information that's located in your device that you might want to use. And there are several techniques that I use, whether it's RAGs, in which you actually harness some of that information to figure out a few things. But bottom line is that it's no longer about the same model for everyone. It's about, yeah, maybe you start that way, but over time, your models become more and more personalized towards you. And I think these are three different trend lines which are here to stay. A lot of it really heading towards on-device AI.
I loved your vegetable, now menu type selection there, because that's a great example of personalization. Determining whether I would like something that's Italian or something that's Mexican or something that's whatever.
Yes.
So no, that's actually a great example. So no, I'm glad you brought that up, and that excites me actually. I
All
think
right.
that's the pot of gold, is that personalization. So. Well, Durga, thank you very much. I
Thanks.
hope we keep doing this because, like I said, AI is changing every 6 months, it seems like. But it's great to be able to talk with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.